Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. You might be noticing that my video in the bottom corner is not synced with what I'm saying right now. And that's because I am recording this audio after the fact. And that's because for some reason I had my mic muted and didn't realize. So I'm sitting there talking like a Wally, talking about what's happening in the last video. We got Latvia. And this time we've just chosen a random country for the next episode in this series, and we've got Malta. So for those just joining us, this is the 100 country 25k challenge in which I try to get a perfect score in 100 countries. Malta is the next one. And I think what I'm saying here is, I think the smaller the country is, the closer you have to be in order to get the perfect score. Potentially in bigger countries you can be a little bit further away. I'm not sure if that's 100% true, but that's what I'm thinking. So I load up the map eventually. Come on then. And we get into this first one. So very typical Maltese round, not Malton, Maltese. If this was the world map, you would just immediately go in and probably go, somewhere near the capital city, just in the sort of residential area. But at the moment, I'm just sort of having a look around, trying to see if I can see some sort of landmark, something that will help us to find the place. So I see this sign, San Juan, and I'm assuming, right, that has to be like a district of the city or an area of the city. So I have a look around for a little bit. I think I'm flip-flopping here. I'm trying to be a bit too careful, trying to take my time, looking around. Eventually I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to see it. It's right there, if you can see it, just on the right of my mouse cursor, and then I found it. So you would think this now should be quite easy, right? We've found the area, we've got a street sign. All we got to do is go in and find it. Well, what ensues now is probably about 5 minutes. Feel free to skip this if you want. About 5 minutes of me looking around for this bloody street name, and I just couldn't find it. There's so many streets in that area that kind of start the same way, look very similar, and it just takes me a long time. I do eventually find it, but it's just going to take me a bit of time. So while I'm doing that, maybe I can ask you now if you like this video, and if you want to follow me along the journey as we try and get 100 countries perfect scores, hopefully within 100 days, then please hit that subscribe button and give my video a nice little thumbs up. That would be very much appreciated. So my original goal with this challenge was to do one every day, and I've already missed one day. So maybe I'm going to have to catch up and do 2 countries in one day, for example. I mean, a country like this, it takes a bit of time, but it's easy, it's doable. And I guess you could say that about any country, right? But it's all about the time, right? Like, you could get a perfect score in Russia, but it might take you hours, right? If you're not in the right place, if you're in some complete middle of nowhere, just some random country road, yeah, you could travel for hundreds of kilometers away until you find signs and start sort of pinpointing it. But it's going to take time, but it is doable. But I think for some of those bigger countries, maybe that sort of gets onto the countries I'm dreading with this. I am dreading Russia. It's going to be difficult. I'm dreading Indonesia. That's going to be really, really hard. Kind of dreading things like the US and like Australia, just because they're so big. I mean, it shouldn't be too hard with enough time, but those videos might end up being quite long. Let's put it that way. So as you can see here, I'm going through the map. I eventually stumble upon it. I think it's going to come quite soon when I eventually find this place, because I think we're getting close to it here. Oh no, I'm going to have another bit of a flip-flop looking around in some random places. So there's a few countries that I already have a perfect score in. I think for those countries, what I'll probably do is just do it again just get another perfect score. Something like the UK, I have a perfect score. I think France maybe, I can't remember exactly. There's not very many, which makes this challenge good because there's going to be quite a lot of countries that I haven't actually played that map before. Okay, still flip-flopping here, still looking. I mean, look at the concentration. Look at how concentrated I am trying to find this place. Eventually we're going to see it. I think what might happen here is I go and find another street sign and that helps me find it. I think that is what happens. Because I know we're on an east to west road, kind of. So I'm mainly just focusing my search on that. In terms of other videos coming up on the channel soon, I have been doing some UK speedruns. I had one last night that was quite a good time, so I might post that video a little later today or perhaps tomorrow. And that is kind of like my escape from doing this, is by doing mainly speedruns. So things like UK Better Map, well, UK Better Map is gone, so it's just UK Map now. Speedruns. I used to do a lot of diverse world, and now I've moved over to the world map, as quite a lot of people have. Things like that, speedruns, high scores, 10 seconds per round NMPZ on the world map is kind of trending at the moment, so I've been trying some of that. I think my best score is somewhere in the 24k, maybe, I don't know, 24,100, something like that. So I'll definitely be looking to improve that. I don't think I'm going to get anywhere near Geoguessr's absolutely ridiculous 24/7. I mean, that, yeah, you got to get a really good seed for that. Okay, anyway, we're getting quite close to this now. I think a little, yeah, I've got it on the screen now. I've got this Michelangelo street. I've eventually found that here, and we follow it back, and now you might be able to see, well, we're quite close to it. Come on, zoom in and see it. There it is. That's the street we want. And we basically started right there. So we're very, very close to it now. And I think I'm explaining myself why it took this long, basically. But we go there, and I think I'm just being a bit overly cautious here. Throw it down, and we get the 5k. Very nice. So you can see the relief there on my face. Now we get into the second one, which didn't take as long as that first one, but it still took a little bit of time. And one of the things I've learned from doing this, and this was the very first attempt that I had at Malta, and I got a perfect score. But one of the things I learned about it is there's a lot of street signs, like everywhere, which is good. There's a lot of signs that will tell you like what district or what region you're in. Not that sign, that's just a regular street sign. But there are a lot of signs that say, oh, now you're entering this part of the city or that part of the city, which is really helpful, super helpful. In terms of this one here, I think I'm just trying to get my surroundings a bit and just try and figure out, are we near the city? Is this maybe one of the other smaller settlements, I guess, somewhere else in the country, looking around for some sort of shop, a gas station, anything, just something that's gonna be pinpointable, basically. But I can't really see anything, and this looks to be basically all residential. There's some sort of park areas around the place, but yeah, here I'm just sort of moving around. And then I see this sign coming up here. I think I'll have a look at the bus stop first. And then Zebug, says there has Zebug, and Zebug is an area or a place. It's right there in the middle almost. You might be able to see it on the map there. It took me a little while to find it. Having a look around at some other places that look quite similar. I think I'm going to see it now. And come on, back you go. Just gone right past it. Sometimes I wonder where I'm actually looking when I play this game, because I'm clearly not looking properly and scanning. But I think we're going to see it soon. Please tell me we don't go up to the North Island and embarrass myself. I think we do. Here we go. looking around. We'll eventually get back to it. I mean, in terms of like if you're playing the world map, in order to identify that it's Malta, it's very sandy looking. It's hot. It's Mediterranean. It looks quite dry in a lot of places. You'll see this sort of sandy brick color for the buildings. It's quite distinctive. Maybe you could think that it's Italy or perhaps even Spain in some places. But if you've played around on this map a lot, or if you've got it a lot on the world map, you'll know what I mean. But just look how dry it is. Look how yellow everything is. That's a big giveaway. So if you got an image like this right now on the world map, you would probably be quite confident that it's Malta. So anyway, we're flip-flopping around here. Oh, I should say the capital city is a little bit different to this. It still is, quite dry and yellow, kind of, if that makes sense. But the capital is a little bit different. But we actually never got any that were like right in the middle of Valletta, I think is the capital. Anyway, I see the word Zeebrugge there again, and that sort of confirms to me that we are probably in a place called Zeebrugge, and I think I'm going to see it eventually, and we'll get in there, and we'll start having a search around. And then we're going to get into the tale of the two meat shops, which is a little bit embarrassing, but let's wait until we find Zeebrugge, until we get into that story. I think it's even a couple of minutes away from now. Feel free to skip ahead a little bit, because this is just, it's quite embarrassing. Just looking around like this for forever. And the place is so obvious that if you zoom out to see all of Malta, you can see it. So now I've found it, finally. So now what I do is I go back to the beginning, and I'm looking at street signs, because they're everywhere. So I see this one here, and it says something Profs Daniel Callis. And I think, well, okay, that can't be that hard to find. It's sort of like a little east to west road. And I look around, and I eventually do find a street that matches it, but it doesn't look quite right. It turns out it is right, and I'm just flip-flopping and not being, sort of confident enough. I see this one here, Dun Loret Callis. Now this one is not actually right. I think it must be right just because of the shape of the road and the direction of it and things, but it isn't. So I think what we do here is we go have a look for another street sign. There's one down here on the right, I believe, or no, straight ahead. And this one is called Farrugia. And I think, right, let's have a look for this one then. This is also east to west. Can't be that hard to find, can it? Well, it does take me quite a while. So looking around here, not seeing anything, nothing's making sense. And then I see this, G Farrugia, and I think, right, we must be there then, right? But the more and more I look at it, look at the confusion on my face. The more and more I look at it, I think that's not right. The shape isn't right. It is sort of east to west, but it doesn't add up. There's the other roads around it don't make sense, basically. So eventually I'm going to start moving around. I'm going to start going in different directions, and we're eventually going to find a meat shop. Okay, this is the tale of the two meat shops. So the tale is, come on you go. Right, I go down this road. I think I eventually go back the other way. Oh no, I'm having a look at more signs. Frangisk Zara or something. But I'm eventually going to go down the street, and I'm going to find a meat shop. And the confusing thing is that it's called the local meat shop. But there's another place that's very, very close to it, just called the meat shop. And I sat for a long time trying to figure out what in the hell's going on, because the roads don't make sense. And it wasn't until then I realized, okay, there must be a meat shop and a local meat shop, which doesn't make any sense to me, but never mind. Anyway, that's the story told, so when it happens, you'll know what's going on. So we're having a look, we're getting confused. Oh man, I mean, this is just... I thought Malta would be a lot easier than this, and in fact, numbers 3, 4, and 5 of this game are much easier. But yeah, we're just flip-flopping. We're just having fun. So I'm eventually going to come back into the map, and I'm going to go and I'm going to find this meat shop. I've been thinking maybe I should speed up these videos in some parts, you know, because it's quite boring just watching me go through all of this. But at the same time, I want to keep everything in there. I want to show that, you know, there was no cheating or anything like that. Everything was done, you know, by the book. So there's the meat shop. So I'm thinking, right, there's nothing else in this area. Surely the meat shop's just going to pop up, and there we go, the meat shop. But I'm looking and I'm like, these roads aren't the right names. The shape isn't right. I go back to the beginning and I double check. Yeah, I went north. I then went west. There's a bit of a sort of square area, and then there's the meat shop. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, this is not right. I haven't traveled that far. There's no football pitch there. I'm thinking, am I down here? Am I around the corner from it? But no, there's no roundabout there, so that's not right. These roads don't sort of line up. And then it just sort of clicks in my brain that that place is called the local meat shop, and that just says the meat shop. So I start having a look around, and eventually we're going to see it. Eventually we're going to figure it out. Look at my face. I'm like, geez, I can't believe how long this is taking. Come on, zoom out. Have a look for the local meat shop. I'm going to do it eventually. It's just going to take a bit of time. There's a car park there and everything. This might be the moment when I look to my left and I see down a little bit and I'll see the local meat shop. And there it is. You can probably see it right there. And that makes a whole lot more sense. The little square in front. I double checked the roads that I've gone. Look at my smiling. I'm like, what on earth is going on? So that all makes sense. I've come up there, I come down here, I can see Prof D Callus, and we're in the right spot. So we've now finally found it. Now, if you're still with me this far into the video, I can tell you that the next 3 are going to be much faster than this. Much faster indeed. And there we go, that's number 2. Now, number 3, much easier. We're at a port, which is quite nice. Just have a look at the sort of general area and the shape of the place, and this, you know, seeing the land there and where the water is just sort of tells us that we're on the east coast of the island. I go up and I'm essentially just looking for something that's going to tell us the name of the dock or the port or the name of the city, and I see one there that says Marsa something. I can't pronounce that. Marsaxloch. And that's right over here on the east coast, as we thought. That's the harbour, that's the port. We just got to quickly figure out the shape of the roads and exactly, you know, which little bit we're at. I have a look at that sign and think, oh, we probably can find that. It looks like a marine equipment shop. I'm sort of slightly looking at the wrong place at first. I'm looking near the top. And then eventually I realize with the shape that we're a little bit further down, and the roads line up perfectly. So this one doesn't take very long. You can probably see it right there at the bottom of the map. That looks perfect. The bus stop's there, the roads are curving in the right shape, and I could probably just throw it there and go for it and get it, but I decided to just take my time, double check, because we want to get this one on the first go. So I go there and it's the perfect score, 5k. On to number 4. Again, not too difficult. We're on a roundabout. It tells us the airport is 2 kilometers one way, Valletta is 5 kilometers the other way, and there's a sign there that says Haluka, which tells us, where it says HSBC just above that, it tells us the name of the area. So I'm going into the map and I just say, oh, we're around there somewhere, and then straight ahead, Haluka. I'm looking around and you can probably see Lucca there right in the middle. I know we're on a roundabout and there's only two options. That one is too close to the airport for the airport to be 2 kilometers away. So I know we have to be on that one. I think I take a look around the roundabout just a little bit just to make sure it all lines up. And that we're at the right part and I choose the right place, because I think, you know, if you're, is it 25 meters? I can't remember how far away you have to be to lose points, but it's probably about 25. But in my mind, I'm thinking I need to be closer than that. I need to be as accurate as possible. So we're just lining it up here and we're going to throw the man down and we're just going to go for it. That's another 5k, 6 meters away. Now the last one, slightly trickier. I go down here and I probably could have got this a lot faster than I did, because when we come down this road we see this big tunnel and we see there Palumbo shipyard. I didn't notice the word shipyard at first, but if I'd known that, I would have known, right, we need to look right next to the water, because if it's a shipyard, it's got to be next to the water. I see Paola there, and well, essentially I'm just looking nearby the port. I think I'm looking around, to be honest, I don't know what I'm doing at the moment. But eventually I will find Paola, which is there, or Paola, I don't know how you pronounce that. I'm looking down at the bottom thinking, oh, look at the shape of this road, where's the tunnel? But what I should be doing is just going straight to the water, because there's a shipyard there. Eventually we're going to do that. Just takes a couple of minutes. I think I go back down the road actually and I have a look. Yeah. So I go back down. No, keep going down. It's basically just above us where we are right now. You might be able to see it on the map. Oh, just gone away there. But I'm trying to figure out where the tunnel is. I'm looking at a street sign now. Can't really read it though, and the sign's in the way, which is annoying. Something that begins with a C and a P is what I'm saying. I know there's a gas station behind us, which is good. I'm having a look for more street signs, looking at the bus stops. I mean, you know, I'm taking my time here. And now I go down and I see Palumbo shipyard. So I go back up towards the water. I'm looking around all these docks and trying to look for where it says Palumbo shipyard. We will eventually find it. It's just slightly kind of to the north. You probably see it there. Come on, in you go. And there we go. So that's the shipyard. I can see the road there with the grey bit, so that probably has to be the tunnel. And I see the gas station, and I know that we're basically there. I think I take a little bit of time to just sort of figure out exactly which bit we're at and the shape of the roads and things like that, and that all lines up quite perfectly. So I could probably just throw it down and go for it, but I end up going back to the beginning. I double check the map in a moment and I see the gas station, obviously. I don't see a convenience store, but then I decide to go back up to double check that there's a place called Malta Car Trader. And if that is there, then I know 100% we're in the right place. So I throw the man down somewhere around there and I go for it. And that's the 25k. So that was, yeah, it took a little bit longer than I thought it would. You know, I was expecting to get that in maybe about 10, 15 minutes. I think it ended up taking about 20, which is not too bad, I guess. Numbers 3 and 4 were quite quick, and 5 wasn't you know, too slow either. So I'm zooming in on each of them there just to sort of recap. I would say, yeah, number 2 was probably the hardest. I just got so confused and couldn't find the right road name, but we got it in the end. I can't remember what was number 3 again. Yeah, number 3 was quite easy. The port. Number 4 was also quite easy, and then number 5 a little bit tricky just to pinpoint. If I'd seen the shipyard earlier, then it would have been much easier if I'd seen the word shipyard. So I go back to the beginning and I have a look at the Explorer mode. That's another gold medal in the bag. That's another perfect score in the bag. Join me again hopefully tomorrow for another 25k challenge. See you then.